For over 5 decades, the Assad regime ruled Syria, with its leader Bashar al-Assad in rule. However, this grip began to loosen when a civil war erupted over a decade ago. Rebel forces, many tied to terrorist organizations like al-Qaeda, launched relentless campaigns against the Syrian government, which was a tyrannical apparatus, plunging the nation into turmoil. Recently, Israel's invasion in Lebanon, which delivered significant blows to Hezbollah, a key ally of the Assad regime. Seizing the moment of weakened defenses, the rebels mounted a decisive offensive against the government. In just 10 days, Syria fell, marking the regime's collapse, and with the country now even more unstable, putting minority groups in danger and prompting other nations to make their move on the chessboard in response to this event. With the Assad regime out of the picture and the region in chaos, Turkey could intensify its military actions, potentially taking over parts of northern Syria, where Kurdish influence is strongest. Turkey considers the Kurdish in northern Syria a threat to its national security, and an invasion could be aimed at eliminating their presence and establishing a buffer zone along the Turkish border. Turkey's potential invasion of Syria is driven by a confluence of factors. An invasion could bolster Turkey's regional influence, allowing it to establish a stronger presence and gain leverage in regional politics. Furthermore, Turkey's historical ties to certain regions of Syria could fuel a desire to reassert its influence in these areas. But such a move won't come without risks. International backlash, particularly from the United States, which has supported Kurdish forces in the fight against ISIS, could complicate Turkey's ambitions. Still, with the world distracted by Syria's collapse, Turkey might calculate that this is a unique window of opportunity too critical to ignore. For Israel, the collapse of Syria poses a complex set of challenges and opportunities. The Assad regime, while far from a friend, maintained a semblance of order on the Israeli-Syrian border. With its fall, Israel is now faced with the uncertainty of new, potentially hostile actors taking control of the region. In response, Israel has already moved troops and equipment to the Golan Heights, which has served as a vital buffer zone against threats from Syria for decades, and a region of critical strategic importance. By fortifying this area, Israel aims to deter any spillover violence from the chaos in Syria, while maintaining a strong defensive position and establishing a buffer zone also on the Syrian side of the border. This area is designed to act as a security belt, keeping hostile forces, whether rebel groups or remnants of the Assad regime, at a safe distance. Israel has also taken preemptive military action, targeting and destroying key military equipment within Syria. This ensures that advanced weaponry doesn't fall into the hands of rebel groups, many of which have ties to terrorist organizations. Also, it sends a clear message to any emerging factions that Israel will not tolerate threats to its security and to vulnerable minorities within Syria. The fall of the Assad regime is a devastating and significant loss for its two closest allies, Iran and Russia. In fact, Bashar al-Assad ran away from his country over to Russia to escape the oncoming rebels. Both countries have invested heavily, financially, militarily, and diplomatically, in propping up the Assad government. Iran will now likely increase its support for groups like Hezbollah to maintain its influence in Syria. However, without a central government, Iran's position is weaker, making it more vulnerable to attacks from Israel and Sunni groups. For Russia, the stakes are equally as high. Syria was a military ally and a cornerstone of Russia's strategy to reassert its influence in the Middle East. The fall of Assad jeopardizes Russia's access to critical military assets, such as the naval base in Tartus and the air base in Khmeimim. These facilities have been crucial for Russia's ability to project power beyond its borders. The collapse also undermines Russia's credibility as a reliable partner. Moscow spent years investing in Assad, showcasing its intervention in Syria as a success story in protecting allied regimes. Now, with Assad gone, this severely discredits Russia's promises. Both Iran and Russia face a harsh reality representing a significant setback to their regional ambitions, forcing them to navigate an increasingly unpredictable Middle East. For the United States, the removal of a longtime adversary backed by Iran and Russia aligns with their geopolitical goals in the region. On the other hand, the power vacuum left behind threatens to destabilize the Middle East further, creating challenges that they cannot ignore. America's primary concern is on preventing extremist groups from exploiting the chaos in Syria. With rebels tied to these organizations like al-Qaeda now holding significant power, could lead to increased drone strikes and potential cooperation with regional allies like Israel and Turkey to neutralize emerging threats. The collapse of the Assad regime is expected to worsen the already dire refugee crisis, with millions of Syrians potentially seeking asylum in neighboring countries and beyond. The U.S. could face renewed calls to provide aid and support for stabilization efforts in the region. In addition, the fall of Syria also impacts America's broader competition with Iran and Russia. With both adversaries suffering a major setback, the U.S. may see this as an opportunity to strengthen alliances with countries like Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Israel. The U.S. will navigate the shifting dynamics of the Middle East, leveraging this moment to reinforce its influence without getting entangled in another prolonged conflict. The fall of Syria marks a turning point, not just for the region, but for the global powers invested in its fate. The power vacuum left behind presents opportunities for some and existential threats for others, creating a ripple effect across the region that could lead to unprecedented territorial changes. This marks the beginning of a new chapter for the Middle East, a chapter of uncertainty and transformation. How the region's nations and the global powers respond to this upheaval will determine whether this leads to greater stability or deeper chaos. One thing is certain, the map of the Middle East may never look the same again.